Time now for our rants and raves, starting with Dan Kennedy.
I have a rave for a little piece of software called FlipFeed. It's a Google Chrome extension that was developed by the MIT Media Lab. You install it in Twitter, and thanks to some magic that the folks at MIT did, it can analyze your feed and decide whether you're a liberal or a conservative.
Really?
You click a button, and it will give you the feed of somebody whose views are not yours. And it was very interesting. I was playing with it earlier today, and I was looking at how the world looks through the eyes of a few Trump supporters.
Now, let me guess what it said you are.
Yeah, no, it wasn't hard to figure out.
But doesn't BuzzFeed have the same thing called outside your bubble? You're reading something, you click on the bottom, they'll give you the opposite viewpoint, which I think is very good for people.
Absolutely.
Oh, interesting.
All right, Adam.
I want to rant about the press's relentless coverage of LaVar Ball, who, as some of our viewers will know, is the father of one of the standout players in this year's NCAA tournament, Lonzo Ball, who plays for UCLA and is a very good point guard. LaVar Ball is an absurd man. He has raised 3 sons who are really good at playing basketball, but he has said things like, in his heyday, when he was a very, very mediocre college basketball player, he would have beaten Michael Jordan in a game of one-on-one. He said that his son right now is better than Steph Curry, the 2-time NBA most valuable player. And every time he opens his mouth and says something idiotic, the press rushes to cover it. Clearly, I've been a consumer of this product.
Because I hadn't heard this myself.
I have reached my saturation point. I think it's time to cut off this guy's oxygen and pretend he doesn't exist.
I'm going to have to cut you off.
So
you got to turn the channel.
I'm trying. I need them to help me out. So.
All right. Callie.
The only LaVar I know is Burton, so I'm completely out of it. All right. This couldn't be a bigger rant. Couldn't be bigger. So the Nieman Journalism Lab, thanks to them, just reported on the report by the Women's Media Center 2017 that, ding, 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 surprise, most of the reporting and the people who are hired to report in prominent news organizations in the United States are men. Here we are, 2017, but that's where we are. They track reporting from broadcast wire, newspaper, and digital-only outlets for 3 months in 2016. And just so you know, it was 24,000 pieces produced in that period of time. They looked at it across the board. And
was it networks?
It was networks. It was local. They did everything. They did the 4 broadcast TV outlets, 10 newspapers, 4 digital outlets, 2 major wire services. Still, mostly men, not enough women.
On air.
On air,
because
behind the scenes.
Because local, really, because at least in Boston, local TV newsrooms are packed with women.
It's all men. Here's the thing that really makes me crazy. When women did write stories about reproductive rights and campus sexual assault, by the way, men still wrote more. Women quoted women, because they should, and men did not. And there was a huge gap in the sex of who the sources were in those stories. That's sexual assault and reproductive rights. I'm just saying. Okay, so this is down. We're now at about 25% from the 32% in terms of counting anchors and on-air correspondents and the aggregate number of men versus women in all of these in the field. And we're gone down now. It used to be 32%. They said the closest parity that came on air was when Gwen was alive, Gwen Ifill with Judy Woodruff, and they came the closest to achieving gender parity of the newspapers, San Jose Mercury News, and the New York Times.
Because the news business doesn't pay anything. And
well, I'm just telling you.
They'd rather just pay women nothing.
I'm just telling you.
Did they look at NPR affiliates at all, like GBH, for example?
I think so.
Because I feel like, in my sense, and I could be totally wrong, I'm obviously a guy making this observation, is that we do a better job.
Got to move on. Rants and raves here, Dan.
Could be.
Yeah, I'm ranting against Glenn Beck of The Blaze. All of you heard this week where he just called out one of his employees, a woman, yes, Tommy Lahren, because she had taken a position of being pro-life and then went on The View and talked about how she believes is a pro-choice. And so I thought, less about what she said was what I'm ranting against here, and more about the fact that he basically threw one of his employees under the bus in a very public way, questioning her intellect on Twitter. I mean, we aren't that shocked because he tends to do a lot lot of things like this. But still, I mean, if you have an employee who does something that you don't agree with, there are other ways to handle it. And for a media company to call someone out, question their intellect on Twitter, I think is wrong.
And the interesting thing was, she was actually saying less government intrusion.
Exactly.
And that's his thing. But in this case, he wants government intrusion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's another issue about the content of what she said, but it was just more of how this was handled.
Yeah.
It's a personal matter, and I don't think it should have played out in such a public way.
All right. I have a rave today for the Boston Globe because a front page story about the fact that there are no gas stations in Boston. And I'm kicking myself because I've noticed this, and I thought I should have put this forward as a story because it's so true. I said, what happened to all the gas stations?
That is true.
And every time I get home and I've got, my light is on, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm 9 miles from the nearest gas station. And they picked up on it and did it as a full-blown story, which it deserves because it turns out it's a trend. There are gas stations are closing all over the Northeast. It gets all
we
over
should start
America.
a mobile gas station.
I'm thinking about
drive around with a truck and fill people up downtown.
The couple that are in Boston will charge you an arm and a leg.
That's
You
right.
don't want to go.
I'll pay.